Murigereria Y'Ensoko Tv ni mambiende ngia asomotinyi oyo igo gatano na kabere mwaka bw'echile fibere 2025 na rimono kugena kwa nebo na kwabokire buyana boigo wachakire umutinyo gasenchira erendonge kegima karibu tasanga subwa memambia ya bono na boigo asokondera kubwate Y'Ensoko Tv kura chinsa 12 cheke mambi gwekera bono gechere chinsa inye chia bono mambi ne chidakika ange nkego chia eteregura somurubere bw'Etorobini kochakire bono gweka chinsa isano nemo chia bono mubasa tasanga subwa mwetera senchira yo mutandao bwekerera sensemo ya YouTube Y'Ensoko Tv namba ya mawasiliano nigere noti isano na ibere isano na isatu isano na isatu isano nemo isano nemo isano nemo isano nemo isano nemo isatu na boigo kwenye gwetere nsabwo ase TV yago igo kanya gutumia ujumbe yago unatogendera takumurikira yagendera tokorkane mambia bona ya etire na boigo ayarachi kubwatia ase elia lero siri tukeriga lie Jumatano Eliane Ishmael Mogere. Asomo chakare mambia bono nigo togoswa ase county ya Nyamira liturigire linare lyali agendrete gokorekana emambia eyega abwasomo gavana we county ya Nyamira Musinyaribo nigo lero arabwatoke chimashini chogosibye chinyigo gose dialysis machines ase nyagitari nene ya Nyamira rifaro nigo ababwata nibo bochenu kuru ase county ya Nyamira bayikiranire ase eyemo abwase yemo tokogenda riotomonyore umurikyo itostive nyarike mbonde kuru ase county ya Nyamira eriatu erena nara lyaya agendera tukura se county yuo asomurubiri uyo ora chikuchakiwa emambia ya bono tiango taraso se county ya Nyamira karibu sana embonde
Biamono Ishmael Mogere korwa sensemo ya kabira ase studio asomurubiri bw'Etorobini ya maseyemo ni gonde ase nyagitari nene yomochio Nyamira gose Nyamira rifaro ekero korigeria ase mega ya ne Dr. Sprasa serit koria rero mugavana bwe county ya Nyamira Moske Amos Nyaribo akageire gochago sioria gose gochago chakia umurubiri umugima abo kubwatoka chi machine chogosibia chinyigo gose chiria bakoroka somono bekenyandwaro dialysis ase rituko ria rero igo ngati yemeroberi egendete ko bage kubekwa ase enyombe yeremega yane ya Dr. Sprasa sebaraji ko bagokorra umuyiga ase rituko ria rero inyora ogochakiwaje chimashini echiga chogosibia chinyigo nigo gwachi chabwango iga maiga yomo waziri gose mo waziri uroteneto bocheno iga Kenya Aden Ndware komochie county ya Nyamira nene mono ase keria regotebanga county ya Nyamira obokoreria nene mono ase getabo kyobochenu nigo konyora bwiranire nsenege kiyo wara chi machine ngati enseme motora chikoria ngati yo bwiraneri boria omo waziri oyu achigetego cha koboria omo gavana bwe county ya Nyamira Moske Amos Nyaribo nabaigo korwa maega yabeire gekorigereri wanga chimashini ejiga chogo kora amangana dialysis konyora ngakinire chiguika chianyoranga andake njira gose emeremo cha iranire nsegento kiagerete umugavana bwe county ya Nyamira wesokitene na gotebanga omwako yiga goikarigereri ensemo yo bochenu nande goikarigereri ncheraki aranyare ko bakagotinya nene mono abarwaire baria bagocha kerari tuko erio gocheki gwa chinyigo chiabo boigonto chiko batogotegera nki umugavana arachiko bakagukwana nene mono ase amangana siasa na ekerenga kiae nene mono goikabone gekera abantu bendete ko boringanga y'umugavana Nyaribare na ase serikali eregose ase Dr. Fred Okengo Matiangi igori tkorigima Ishmael Mogereni igo toraje ko batokobeka ekambiga iga ase nyagitari iga kwene kikende ngiye konyara ko bage ko gwetra igo mwanjo murigereria Y'Ensoko Tv to base ko enda litera nyarike Steven Mbonde ngirani ko ikaga bwase studio nabo kwenda kubwatia mangana itamaya rego chabosio elio tokoretera report yoru ase oboimekorwa ase nyagitari ya Nyamira rifaro na natikire goteba litera nyarike Steven Mbonde ngirani igo ikaga bwe studio
Biamana homo sakete Steven nyarike mbonde asogo tumanya yo boigo mwancho muri anto chikwendera ko ya molekera na boigo ko ligereria na boigo guchuko ya retaronsi unagendera tukweni kwa korwa ase county ya Nyamira ase umuyigo yo na mono ayabwatikaine no bochenu ase county ya Nyamira gusuka mutwe emambia bono erikutinyo borendi imeyense nigo aba deputy county commissioners imeyense bono bagendera tukonyora amaigerio enchira baganirwikirania obokora libwabo magega yogo choro na boigo gokonyora ribaga riogoswa asensemo yobokorari asomoyega ogenderete kuragwa gose orairwe no muriki omonene ase wizara yoborendi bwaime Raymond Omolo tiango torarigiri kura asensemo eyo naro narariaya agenderete kurwaroro.
So I want to encourage each and one of you to take full advantage of this induction program, engage actively with the facilitators, ask questions, seek clarifications, share experiences, and learn from one another. Maybe the issues that you deal with in Mount Elgon are not the issues that someone who is in Kwale or who is in Mandera is dealing with. And when we share those experiences, because as an administrator, you are expected to serve in any part of the country. So that today, if you are told, as you report back, instead of going back to Kisii, we want you in Kajiado. You should have at least picked a bit of experience that then would make your work or your service in Kajiado better. Next few days, you'll be taken through a comprehensive curriculum covering your evolving role as a middle-level manager, policy implementer, development coordinator, security actor, community mobilizer, and much more importantly, a guardian of public service values. You will also engage on the coordination of national government development agenda and priority projects that collectively represent the competencies required of a modern public administrator that you are. Colleagues, you are taking up these responsibilities at a time when His Excellency President William Ruto's administration is progressively accelerating the implementation of its development blueprint under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And maybe just to remind us, what are the key pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda? Number one is housing. Number two is agriculture, to address the issues on food security. Number three is micro, small, medium enterprises. Okay? Number four is universal healthcare. And number five is the digital economy. And you sit at the heart of the realization of the implementation and the delivery of those key pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Build or bring back that cadre of administrators so that kama wewe ni Bwana DC, wewe ni Bwana DC kamili. That is why we are doing the retooling, we are doing the skilling, we are addressing the challenges, including your mobility issues, which has been a thorn in the flesh for many years. And in the next couple of months, we would have significantly, actually I'm looking at 2-3 months maximum, significantly sorted the issues around your mobility. So that when you chair those meetings, you are properly chairing. Sindio? We have the village elders. And for the first time in the history of the country, through the support of His Excellency the President, beginning tomorrow, we'll have stipend to our village elders so that they can effectively support the work that you do across the country.
Aseme kwamiria serikali bakorwa na Kalonzo Musyoka, Justin Muturi amo na Eugene Wamalwa nigo bamochirie serikali mono ase ebikoro byaba Kenya kwendera gwocherera na kubura ime yense abo ase korega nabara bubaerere buna nigo lichiko ligenderete kubunwa ribaga likobwatwa nigo bayakwanira aya maiga yogotarera oya mumanyikiro nere Davis Lichuma ase nyagitari ya Nairobi Women's Hospital elio koligereria nabo igo kumanya nakia agenderete maiga yali abakagwetera asukurubekana kwa korekana bwangwiga.
The crime of torture under the Rome Statute is actually a crime against humanity. You can see Davis Lichuma, Davis Lichuma you can see a person clearly tortured. We met earlier at our place, other friends who were with us, some journalists, when we gave the press briefing outside the Serena Hotel before we started the march to Parliament buildings, that these people pounced on innocent Kenyans and put them in the infamous Subarus. Now they have also added some Pajeros, because the plan was mtu anachukuliwa anawekwa ndani ya Pajero, na kama pengine ameuawa, walikuwa wamejiandaa kabisa, wakiua watu wanaweka kwa hiyo mapajero na kwenda kuweka we are sure, we have information, walikuwa na mipangilio Ololua Forest na kwingine wawekwe huko, watokomee huko, wasaulike. Wakenya hawezi kusahau mambo haya, na sisi tunatoa hakikisho kwamba kijana huyo na wenzake hawezi tu kuachiliwa. Bwana Ruto anaamini watu wakilipwa ridhaa milioni 3, ati hiyo sasa ni pesa ambayo inatosha maumivu ya hata kiakili. Kwa hivyo ni jambo la kuhuzunisha sana, na mambo haya lazima yaendelee. Sisi tumetoa hakikisho kwamba pale watoto waliuawa outside Parliament. In fact, we have even done some scouting outside the Kenyatta Mausoleum. Hapo we will put a monument in the memory of our Gen Zs, wale ambao waliuawa, and how they breached Parliament, how they changed this country. No amount of ill will, mismanagement, or indeed monetary considerations will wipe away the reality that this country changed forever from the 24th of June, or say 25th of June, 24th June, 2 years ago. Kwa hivyo tutasimama pamoja kama Wakenya wazalendo, tuhakikishe kwamba jambo la kizalendo linafanyika juu ya vijana hawa Gen Z.
That torture is a crime within the Rome Statute, and we are documenting every bit of it. It does not matter how long it takes. Those responsible, or those who bear the greatest responsibility, including command responsibility, will have to be held accountable for those crimes. We all know too well that it's just the other day when William Ruto, in the presence of visiting head of state, the president of Finland, he stood unashamedly at State House when asked by a lady journalist what happened to those that had been abducted or killed. And he said that they had been returned to their parents. Maybe William Ruto might have said it in jest, but we took note, because if he knew that they were taken back to their parents, then he knows who had abducted them. So when we are talking about people being held accountable, William Ruto should know that every statement that he makes, all these steps that he takes, including the steps he takes to say that Kenyans were thanking Kenyans that they never turned up for the demonstrations. He said that just yesterday. Yet, callously enough, doesn't have the temerity to even acknowledge that Kenyans were abducted in full view of cameras, full view of the entire public, put in police vehicles, taken to known police stations, and subsequently removed and put into these unmarked Subaru vehicles. We are documenting all that. And William Ruto, it is very shameful that as head of state, you can indeed spend so many hours purporting to be opening bridges, and you cannot even have the courtesy to even send a message of sympathy or empathy to those that have been affected by the conduct of your security forces. We will hold you accountable.
Kenya, and particularly Nairobi, has had a very dubious record of being the epicenter of abductions, not just nationally, but regionally. It is here that Kizza Besigye was abducted. We had a Tanzanian national abducted. And a clear statement from this government to other nations that abductions will be a thing of the past. They have resorted to what they do best, using their Subarus, using men in masks, abducting and torturing fellow Kenyans so as to intimidate them, not to enjoy their civil liberties, freedom of expression, and the right to protest and to picket. These are all constitutional rights that are not granted by the generosity of this state, but are guaranteed by the Constitution. We have, with my colleagues, spoken to some of the victims today. This morning we met about 5 of them who are with us during the march, who were actually abducted by Subarus and picked from our procession, and who have told us what they went through. And they were taken around in these Subarus. They were taken to the police headquarters. And what they went through is really an intimidation for them never again to participate in demonstrations. So we want to tell this government, you are not going to limit those rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution, but also the police officers who are being used in these abductions. We are saying it's not enough for the victims to be compensated. We are saying each officer must be held to account. If you are used to torture, if you are used to kill, to misuse firearms, to take life. As the alternative government, we want to assure the families affected and all victims of abductions, enforced disappearances, and extrajudicial killings that we continue to stand with them and to act to ensure that justice is done to them.
Gotigana nayo ni go serikali ya borigwe gotiga goswanana gose muraibense Dr. William Samuel Toniga borigwe gotiga goswanana no bokorari bwabarari na bwego chinyomba choborari kolingana no muraibe kiama kya DCP Rigathi Gachagua negatebire na eyo nenchira yemo yokogenda mamincha no bosibore enchira obarari baganiri gokora emirimo yabo na bwego chinyomba choborari gwekirania obokorari bwabo unakwerera so bwagari korwa ase ensemo ya waminyoro.
Today I'm concerned, as you are, on the threats to the media and freedom of expression, media freedom in East Africa and in particular here in Kenya and Uganda as we approach the 2027 general elections. We have had a bad pattern in Kenya that ahead of general elections, journalists and bloggers get targeted by unpopular regimes that fear the power of the people at the ballot. Some journalists or bloggers are either disappear, they are silenced, compromised, or killed altogether. It is shameful that those stifling the media are on a barrage of attacks on the media are a product of the media and freedom of expression in Kenya. But for this regime led by a crooked dictator, learning from his counterparts in East Africa, it is worse. Journalists covering corruption stories, abuse of the rule of law, wanton looting of public resources, and other beats, and who have refused to be silenced, unintimidated, or corrupted by the state, live under perpetual fear, intimidation, and daily threats from the state machinery. Media houses that are firm on their independent editorial policy have not been spared either. Notably, on 25th June 2026, in the full glare of cameras, we witnessed a police officer throw kicks at a journalist in Nairobi streets for no apparent reason. Further, on 26 June 2026, 4 armed men believed to be police officers from the dreaded Killer Squad, Nairobi Sierra, armed with AK-47 assault rifles, attempted to abduct the Standard Group Nakuru-based associate editor, Mr. Nixon Kiprotich in Nakuru. This failed. It is saddening and painfully unbearable that on 24th and 25th June 2026, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of our Defense Forces, Mr. William Ruto, on his official X account, launched a barrage of scathing attacks on the independence of the Standard Media Group. This was after a series of uncomfortable stories about this regime, and more painfully to him was a story on William Ruto gallery of lies. This attack is an open defiance to truth and total war on the freedom of media as stipulated under Article 34 of our Constitution. I am aware that the journalist Vera Morara, who did these stories, are trailed by security forces 24 hours every day, and if anything happens to Vera, William Ruto must be held to account. Mr. William Ruto, the media does not live under your mercy or privilege. If you think the media is your enemy, you are mistaken. Wait for August 10th next year. It is further alarming that some few days ago, journalists attached to Media Max Limited were sanctioned for physical and online bullying by state operatives and bloggers. Their safety and privacy were compromised and exposed. Notably, Kameme Radio journalists Muthoni wa Kirumba and Gatonye wa Mbugua were, among others, have been threatened and exposed to verbal and physical abuse from political class and other undercover security agencies. Particularly, President Ruto's advisor on the persecution of the mountain region, Moses Kuria, has given threats to Muthoni wa Kirumba, and if anything happens to Muthoni wa Kirumba, Moses Kuria and William Ruto must be held to account. Those behaviors being learned from the East African dictators will not be played here in Kenya. I must say for the record, Kenya is not Uganda and Kenya is not Tanzania. But more importantly, we are aware and informed of William Ruto's plans to shut down some media houses, cripple others through the government advertising agency financially, and slow down and eventually shut the internet on the 10th of August 2027. But let us remember, on 3rd May every year since 1993, the world marks the Press Freedom Day as ratified by the United Nations General Assembly. It is not only that 3rd May is the only day we celebrate and observe media freedom, but every day we must observe and honor the media as the fourth estate. In our country, Kenya, press freedom is not a privilege granted by the state, but a right recognized under our Constitution. Article 33 and 34 of our Constitution gives the right to freedom of expression and freedom of the media respectively. Our Constitution has not changed, and those who believe in the dark days must be reminded accordingly. It is not about what you like in the media, but the truth. Further, I strongly condemn the closure of NTV Uganda, Spark TV, and Daily Monitor by Uganda's military chief, General Muhoozi, who is the son of Kaguta Museveni. He is a close confidant of William Ruto, and by association, Ruto is part and parcel of this shutdown. The pattern of media crackdown can be seen even by those who have challenges in seeing. I strongly urge the East African press councils to stand firm and remain vigilant as the three known East African dictators flex their retrogressive incivility on the fourth estate. I also urge journalists to remain firm and remain so. In all this, neither William Ruto nor any officer in his government has spoken against this. This clearly confirms that William Ruto and Kaguta Museveni are Siamese twins in media suppression. The freedoms we enjoy today were not given on a silver platter. Kenyans fought for them. We have sunk a higher lower through this regime. Even international media houses are being threatened and sanctioned against airing certain stories. This has never been seen. I have been informed in confidence that some top journalists and editors have been marked for crackdown and silenced by this regime. I have personally reached out to some of them, and within the week I will reach out to the rest. If anything happens to any journalist in Kenya, whether a foreigner or a resident, this government must be held to account. And regarding Gachagua, will remain very, very vigilant and will be available to call out on any threat to any journalist in Kenya I want to assure journalists wherever they are that they have my full support and I'll be there for them at this very difficult time. If this government thinks that their problem is the media, this is the biggest lie they are living in. The problem is not the media. It is fake promises, failure, lies, a failing economy, failed systems, poor service delivery, corruption, abuse of the rule of law, abductions, extrajudicial killings, and total failure of government. William Ruto, please leave journalists alone. Leave the media houses alone. Do not take us back to the dark days of the 80s and the 90s. It is unbelievable that in the era of information technology, artificial intelligence, and citizen journalism, the state can sit down and think of how to silence the media. This is when schools have no classrooms and hospitals have no drugs, even painkillers. William Ruto, you have captured all institutions. You have punctured the opposition immediately after you got into power. Please leave the 55 million Kenyans with the media as their last line of defense. I call on all media houses, the journalists and the editors to stand in solidarity with one another. Do not be cowed. Do not be threatened or intimidated. Stand firm and speak the truth for the people of Kenya. You are the last line of defense for the 55 million Kenyans. Ahead of the 2027 general elections, as you observe your code of ethics to report elections, be forthright and do not allow the state to capture or subvert the will of the people. The Kenya Editors Guild must stand firm and protect the editorial independence. You must shield your members and stand for Kenya. Your members must be safe and their rights must be protected. Please do not let the excesses of this regime kill your journalism. I call on the United Nations and intergovernmental bodies that protect journalists not to shut their eyes on Kenya and Uganda as we witness targeted assault on the members of the further state. A society must endure without a government for a while, but no free society can endure without a free media. Finally, I ask the 55 million Kenyans not to relate this assault on the media. After this clueless regime is done with the media, they'll come for you. So please don't just start by as the media is being intimidated and tormented.
Ase hense muyende kumurikira ayabwatikaine no boncherere mambia yabono nigo abaraikuru chinse ao asorongo rwa Afrika baumiranira sumucho yego Nairobi mambia bono asege karukia 25 na rimo kia Africa Trade and Investment Development Insurance gose atiri abo asbagendera to kwanira amangana bwatikaine no boncherere asorongo rwa Afrika asomoko nyumuraibwense Professor Kidure Kindiki aikiranire eri kwigura egikarikyo buna ekubwate masayamo tiango traswa sense meyo eri toligerina kubwate
the better we can organize and mobilize investments by de-risking capital that is already in here. That is the other side of the role that ATD plays. How do you convince a pension fund to put money in an infrastructure project that might be cancelled? So pension funds need a strong institution to say, yes, in case that power purchase agreement or concession is cancelled, a TD, which is highly rated, will come through for you so that you can pay your pensioners. That is the promise. So really, I would say to the Vice President, if governments could be consistent in their policies, we don't need a TD. Investors will be confident. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moses. Now, coming back to you, Deputy President, Your Excellency, you outlined earlier some of your industrial priorities. Now, we've heard that the credit is available, that we have strong institutions like ATD mobilizing capital. I'd like to know from a government perspective, how are you creating an enabling environment for capital to be able to move towards you?
Thank you very much. Maybe as I spoke about agriculture, energy, and water, I left out trade and logistics, which is a very important addition to the whole industrialization matrix. And in this country, we have that component as well. We're mobilizing resources to modernize our roads and airports and seaports and so forth. But to answer your second question on what we are doing to create enabling environment for investor confidence, one, I spoke about policy continuity, because one of the biggest problems for Africa and much of the developing world is policy disruption, where it is not clear that a program on infrastructure transformation, a program on housing, a program on energy will be sustained in the long term. Many of the investors want long-term commitment that they can invest in a long-term project, especially the pension funds, which Moses has mentioned. So we are assuring, we are developing long-term policy positions that we hope can sustain this country for a generation plus. And we are also trying to mobilize our own resources so that as we invite investors to put their money in, for example, some of the roads we are dueling, we are also putting our local resources there so that we are joint partners. I said in the opening remarks that part of our moving into the future will involve making sure that we bridge the gap between public and private capital, because the public sector doesn't have enough resources to undertake some of the ambitions that we have. So that money will have to come from private investments. But in the past, there has been a dichotomy. That dichotomy must be bridged so that going forward, we can invest together in a project. It doesn't have to be either or. We should be doing that jointly. And that partnership should be able to assure some of the investors who are looking for long-term solutions. We are doing that already. We started with some of the dual carriageways we are doing presently. And now I think this week we'll be beginning with the modernization of our main airport here, using a PPP model, putting money, public resources, and then bringing in investments. And we are also working on our other fundamentals to ensure that the policy interventions we are making will outlive a particular administration, because without that we will not be able to achieve what we want to.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And that really speaks to the earlier point that we heard from President Ta on the importance of harmonization, coordination, division of responsibility in moving forward towards a common architecture for financial institutions. Now, going back to your earlier point, President Ta, what are the next steps for NAFAD?
Thank you very much. So the first phase of the NAFAD is the recapitalization of ATD and also the enlargement of its shareholders. So we are really very keen to see all African countries joining ATD in the next coming month and years. But also the recapitalization of ATD will include also the contribution of African financial institutions. And we are thankful are very grateful to our partners outside the continent. Germany has recently joined ATD and became the largest non-regional member of ATD. We thank also Japan, who through Nexi has been also one of the non-regional members. We thank also Spain and Italy, UK through UKF, but we are expecting other non-regional members to join. On the African side, the recapitalization also will help the bank will help ATD to have a stronger capital base. And in that regard, we are working with the management of ATD and with our partners to mobilize resources to help our countries to pay for their contribution in the capital of ATD, either for existing members to increase their participation, but also for non-members to join and to pay for their contribution. So of course, NAFAD is a whole system, And part of the new initiative we are also working on is to work with the African Pension Fund to mobilize more resources to fund African development, to work with insurance and reinsurance industry also to mobilize some of the resources, to work with African sovereign funds to mobilize investment for the development of the continent, to work with capital market to deepen their market, but also to get them to work together toward a Pan-African stock exchange, because our market individually are very small. So we need really to link all African stock market to have a continental stock market. We do have also some initiative related to, for instance, recapitalization of all African DFIs, mobilizing resources at scale to recapitalize all African DFIs, and also to develop mechanism for domestic resource mobilization. So one of the initiatives we are working on is what we call the NAFAD multiplier, which will enable us through injection of capital to regional and to national to enable them to raise funds in their regional and domestic markets.
Excellent. It sounds like you have a bold, ambitious, but quite a lot of work on hand, but very important for our continent. Now, taking your earlier point, Mr. Moses, and in fact, looking at some of the points that have been discussed already on the panel, $93 billion is not a small number by any means of the imagination. But we have to look at the cost of that capital. How are you working, and how are some of the products that you've rolled out working towards lowering the cost of capital for the projects?
Well, thank you very much. In fact, that's another pillar of what ATIDI does. It's not just giving confidence, but also helping in lowering the cost of capital. How do we do that? You can imagine investors, local and international, always refer to the country's credit rating, okay? Let's use, most of our countries in the continent are rated in the B range, yeah? B, B plus, double B maybe. That's the majority of our countries. So when an investor looks at that, they say, if I have to do an investment in country Y, my risk premium is X, just from the rating. Of course, in Africa, they even add another premium. We call it the bias premium, yeah? So it's not just the rating premium, but also the bias premium. So that 2%, which was the implied risk premium, there's another bias premium of another 1%, it adds up at 3%. So automatically, any project in Africa is got a cost of doing business of 3%, okay? Now, what did ATIDI do to try and solve that? ATIDI said, okay, we need to also get the rating as an institution. And as you saw in our timeline, since 2008, ATIDI attained a rating of A by S&P and A3 by Moody's. And I think Moody's improved it in 2024 to A2. So really, we are investment grade. Now, so to the investor, if they see an investment grade protection for an investor, they are now looking at that country plus the cover from ATIDI, so the blended rating is now investment grade. So rightly so, you should ask the investor, surely an A-rated investor, what is their premium? Oh, they tell you 1%. So you see, we were supposed to pay 3%, just because of our protection, they're charging 1%. That's how we reduce the cost of doing business for our countries. So indeed, investors can make an equivalent to say, okay, an A-rated institution in Europe or America or wherever, it's the same as in Africa. So we've made Africa investment grade. That's how we reduce the risk of cost of doing business in ATIDI, and we want to do it at scale. There's no magic to it, it's just the same. Let's play the game that the investors play, but do it fairly and demand that why should you still charge a higher rate for an investment grade
industrial priorities, and where is there room to grow?
The room to grow is in optimizing the resources that have been mobilized to give us value for money. And I think for us, we are investing as a country in governance so that to make sure that the resources mobilized give not only a good return for investment for the investors, but also they are able to help us maximize on the public goods that we require to deliver to be able to transform our economy. So what we've done, for example, around the area of trade and logistics and infrastructure is to make sure that we establish a national infrastructure fund.
Yamano mwancho mworigelia Y'Ensoko Y'Ensoko Tv oboroso umugusi chideke chiatigeri sano choka chiraga chinzi sano chiabona mambia somurubire go Etorobini asogandira kolie na kumurikira amange mambia yabona asabona nigo tokorasi umiri chiduka na kurwabuto kwere na ntasoe asenkwana ite mambia bona asura chikolie na kumurikira ayabwatikaine nuko gendera na boiga sesemeri obarali bumwana ase kurwa nsemo ya kurunka paka sensemo yekisemeri we kwanekina umwana ogenderere na kubyoka gochibosio ena turachu kwanira na koligerelia subagare mambia yabona toskare ne TV yago Y'Ensoko TV boroso bwomugusi.
Eye Y'Ensoko TV oboroso bw'umugusi. Ine nuganete betri uratumia segari yao ebetri uguchachirimo ugakweba ebetri ulegene chinga kichonsi ebenga kieliberera gosenga kiyobokendu tawe chanika Autobat Kenya Limited no tulegigiga asingichao nigo tokorosia na koni chipetiri uratumia chinga kichonsi chibetiri uratumie asegari enke ebasi no nyaneli kurukuru.
Tunapopitia pale kwa gari yako tutahakikisha tumeweka na tumekupimia charging system ya gari na pia tumekupimia battery na kila kitu itakuwa iko sawa.
Alright. Sasa na ikileta shida kabla hii warranty ishe itakuwa namna gani?
Ikikusumbua kabla ya warranty utakuja tukishaiangalia tutakupatia betri ya kushikilia tukiendelea kuangalia yako.
Yayoka ne betri yechingo.
Betri ya Autobat ni betri ambayo ni spill proof, kumaanisha hiyo betri haimwagi acid ile ambayo iko ndani. Hiyo betri imetengenezwa na calcium. Kama vile tunajua calcium hainanga water loss, kumaanisha sasa hiyo betri hakuna wakati ambayo inakauka hiyo acid.
Asamange twakirisimi namba 0739697855.
Kwa wale watu wa kujamstatiwa, wachana na betri kama hizi. Tumia Autobat. Betri ni Autobat.
My name is Albert Omariba. I'm the principal of Kitwebe Technical Training Institute. Kitwebe Technical Training Institute is a government institution situated in Nyamira County. We admit our students as from Standard 8 to Form 4 across all departments. Our students receive help and capitation from the government, therefore there's no worry of the fee payment. And our students pass very well in all departments, and we are able to achieve 90% pass.
Ni kweli Kitwebe Technical Training Institute ni chuo ambacho kimebobea na kinatoa mafunzo katika kiwango cha diploma, certificate na hata katika kozi zifuatazo: Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Building and Civil Engineering, Fashion Design, Cosmetology, ICT, Business Management, Water Technology, Hairdressing and Beauty Therapy, Social Work and Community Development, Plumbing, Welding, kati ya nyinginezo.
We are having a May intake 1-1. We have 8 departments, and we have the Center of Excellence in Fashion and Design. We are actually the best in this region. This region means Nyanza and Western. So we are welcoming students who can seek admission to undertake courses and training in our various departments. So welcome to this community and learn, get the skills, and then from there you can be self-employed or you can seek for employment. Thank you.
Vile tuna short courses za computer packages na German language. Gitwebe Technical Training Institute. Skills for self-reliance. Eye Y'Ensoko TV. Oboroso bumugusi.
Karibu na ndo mwanchu mwaligeria mambia bono eritoswa sense meiga ya kabere gukwanira na kumurekera aya bwatikaine na se ensemo ya bana baitiguru yugukina no kugenderera ku mwana korwa okweberu kwae goika koba omuntu omone nabo igo guchaka gwetenera ina tuchukwanira mambia bara sobwa gareta sanga sobwa mo wetera senchero mu tanda gwekerero asensemo ya YouTube Y'Ensoko TV rabo igase namba ya mawasiliano nigere notisano na ibere sano na isatu ne mo isatu na kirubya ingarigenyo mugentu tikusanga monere mambia bono aragusogere kurwa ubu ntosoe asekerengi gitukeri tukoria rero asokolire na ukwanira ayabwati kwene no gukina nabo igo okogenderera ku mwana. Karibu sana kwani yango umurigereria sema.
Asante amugusie sego kwabeta na ukwaniri wa kirubya asa malieta igongoro ku Brian Machoka igondo mumanyi bwe kisemi gukona ndi masters ya Nali University ya Nairobi na ndi gongo specialize ase the current education planning igongo baliga ni bonsi bache bategarira mangana ikega bona yana yaringeta abana babo. Yes.
Karibu sana yene nkwana twabere tugotwara ntwanye bwata senga kigete kurumagega na bono nigo tokogendera kurwali ase twatigerete abwase lia lero boigo tukokwanira ya bwatukeni nguru yogokina no kogendera ku mwana go se success of a child na boigo no koligereria na ine nigo ningoganeirie role ne yo muiboli go se na sense mo yo mwalimu go se na sense mo yo mwana omonyene go se kubwatira nankole koganiri go korekana iri kwene kinu mwana oye gankogenderare na koba kelia agane irikoba na ase obwango mono korengana naye na boigo asamangana ga yobumanyi bwekisemi libo liritanganira igandiri na kyogo define ngani yige kurukwa na child success na mono wakero tokwanira amangana ikisemi na boigo ntumanyete enga kitore bono iga use senchali eritore na senchali nenga kieri boigo na kero mwana igabwa to bumanyi nonyiro mwana ole class 4 class 5 uyo grade 1 grade 2
egama itamangana mange
nigama itamangana mange ne bana nigo komosemia akorana ikiga ogandire to kongo semia negento manyete na bigo ni maite kiganiri gokorekana korengana na ekurwa se ekerugo kiri wikaransete na kigo define child success.
You know, child success bunanko ndateme kunyebe ko mugusia anyeigwe tuarule kurua sente korunga ntobwate ebintu bibere ndete nkwanire ntobwate entekorunga traditional education na modern education. Traditional minetinga chinga kichiri kya kale amasomo igo arenge based on success igo arenge based on examination. Nga kiu mwana okora matem nga kiu mwana agoeta matem aya kororire so onyu mwana oitira matem it's ekumanyikana nga bono mwana okorire ki mwana oyo oitira matem bono mwana oyo succeeded osikuligiri kenyoro by the way mara ange ekaratu wala okora amatem KCSE KCP competition igo yarenge igoro because osikugwa matem ogotebunga wono gwa failed osegweta bote ngaya no bwato no kagiro go jokoraki wo succeed go chibosialia. So in the mind of an ordinary Kenyan, success in the traditional education igo ya minetinga ngaki ogokora matem Lakini in the modern education, success has changed the definition. In the modern education, iko tukurigereria education in different ways. It's not just success, it's not just knowledge. Iko tubwate knowledge, tukatwara skills, tukatwara attitudes, na tukatwara competencies. Sema ngana a current. So even the beyond pi, it cannot be produced by one person.
Kero mnabwate ensemo yae.
Kero muntu bo nabwate ensemo yae. Mbantu kiaba bago define success. A government has a big role. Omwalimu nabwate a role as success y'omwana. Omoibuli nabwate a role enene sana as success y'omwana. Omwana omonyene nabwate a role as success y'omwana. Amwana school administrations njibwate a role chigo play as a success y'omwana. So in short, success cannot be defined by a single person ngabono or a single thing ngana ki ngabono because of examination success one go kuachire go succeed in future. All these things must come together elinde chichego chibuliswalelia success. A teacher, a parent, the government, the school administration. All those ones must come together bamanya kyumwana go succeed in the modern education. Yes.
Chinga kichinyinge korengana na kiri kwaereire na kero munabwate ensemo yaye gose no bokora libogani irikurkurwase umwalimu umuibuli ya serikali nero ya chire megocha like chinga kichinyinge kero ukoligereria ase tola singa kichiga ogoche kwanyorana omuntu oyo mona yaro gochobekira umuzigo yibwensi ipi ase ngencho for example ngwa kwa drama ya attitude behavior nere gaiga no nyino gokwana kumanya gukora bintu getera bintu tinyone training and skills and all that konyorana omuntu oyo mona yaro gochobekira umuzigo yibwensi ipi otigara asore na mono omuntu goche bwenyora ase akongumono ekona ime no mwalimu umwalimu nero kobonigwa embwa obonigwa ogweta ko mwana
oyo correct okugwa ko mwana oyo
okuige kerekemo na ero gochobekiro yani nonye no mwana na nyoru asa abana balia bagochebenda day school umwalimu na ero gochobonigwana abana aba mwabayigorera mapema umwana one ni gachite igoro kanyorire sana umwana one ni gachite karigana igana yani umwana nabayigorere tu mapema kuri school zine chiza 10 ochobeka saa moja lakini bado umwalimu na ero gochobekiro muzigo ojo so ekero chokwanire ngani iga ingima neri buya kobekera egekundi akamugyoka amagoso
actually egentiki kebwende ko bayiga bunanke manyete ekero mwana etira matemu omwibuli agochote yangu mwana one oitira matemu ko bayaba alimu okoba yesukuru okoba lakini mwana gakugwa matemu kero muntu ngya ko point fingers olinero gwata magoso olinero gwata magoso so what happens is this abayibuli baito mbabwene to understand a process ya success bune koenda ekero mwana iboirwe ngote butore from want to na ngana psychology ntubugate nga behavioral psychology ego thengana ki learning takes place or happens by interacting within a certain environment. Interaction ya kuna environment will necessitate nga kyuko chokoraki nga kyuko learn you as a person. Omwana nga yago spend chinga kichinyinge ekero mwana ibero before ataracha ke school because learning takes place before mwana ataracha school. There are basic things chiko take place kero mwana ataracha school. Ona kero mwana iboirwe chinza chinyinge konyoralika. Na kero batangana ki in a family setting a school starts from there. A school is the smallest family where a parent is the teacher. Omwaiboli no mwalimu mutangani nyuma ya tarajise school. So what happens alinka no moiboli akoraki agosomeli omwana igoro ya basics respect omosomi igoro ya love omosomi igoro ya how to manage anger mwana diaromoke. That is how you get involved in the initial stages chokosomi mwana. Another thing, even through this parent, ntuwade nturunga social theory yarenge expounded mono mondo ku Bandura. Warodi? Bandura is also a psychologist. Iko bade tenga learning also takes place by a student, you know, imitating or observing the characters of the people around them.
no kwega
okwega. So if the parent is misbehaving at home, the child is learning something. Onya ko ako onya mukorwana nyombali omwana na aroche. He's learning.
Na binge buna bange batokora atabana ki okonyora na omwibuli nali especially sensemo yabangi na baito go say our mothers okonyora na letokora mo mwana ororo mwana gakora limocho omurama usumurangerie lietagete usurangire muntu gete malietagete kwanyora no mwana onere embwe iyo yachakira komaso mwana okina utamanyete kurama omwana nere bono agochikorora mwabo the only way ba okurangeria machoka ni gongo kurangeria ne lietagete na X gento gete yani igobono na chakire embwe ini ganyora kura so mwiboli na no kubaka umuntu elieta gose nembwe lyokurama.
Exactly. So as I was saying, the social theory na behavioral psychology ichina chiko explain buya ngaki umwana agosoma umwana agosoma through the environment negento kiria kurigereria ekra ikire skule ga sio mwalimu nereri ega sio mwalimu no reinforce kwarorire they already installed the knowledge eretari go change medo mwalimu tago nyara go change gento umonta learn from home. Sometimes the characters toko somewana kuruka, it's very difficult in a school setting mwalimu go change because inche if I'm supposed to teach, you know, I'm supposed to reinforce or transform the already acquired knowledge go to another level. So, and sustain and maintain it. To some extent, I want to prefer punishment. You know, let me tell you something about learning. These two people, about psychology, they tried so much to explain Manganaya learning. There's something, there's a law called the law of effect. They got the key. The character or the behavior that is rewarded by a satisfying reinforcement is likely to be repeated. Yani, ekero mwana akolire buya, kwarorire, ochomotevi zawadi ye. Umwana ibakakoleki, bakachiko kora improvements as a character you. Lakini character ya eko etariko ba rewarded gose eko ba either punished. Kwarorire, umwana na likely koraki kupunguza such kind of characters. So even from home, even to biko kolekana umwana karago hao kora kiende kalia abantu abangi go bago focus monaze the negative. Umwana one karaleka, sometimes you can choose to ignore the negative part, but omo motivate ya sega agente ka kolrebia so that ekero komo kania kwa mwire alternative to basego koraiga you getting that? So that is the role of a teacher in the school, as I've explained. Then come you're gonna say society. A society kasi aninki. A society, if they emulate or they celebrate positive attitudes, wase chingenjo gete chingia chikuru asamangana masomo maybe from the surrounding omwana oyo pakachi okoraki pakachi go copy that because the environment it is through social learning eki omwana akoligereria ngana ki umuntu olia ne politician onye politician igekora abantu lyoka you know the child is learning something, so politics also affects learning. Onya ekanisa abantu bakonya kurwana abarandi bakonya kurwana ovyo bana baroche, the child is learning korire onya ne mamira uchaka konya koba ekenyase igine exactly because one omeje to blame sometimes ya abali mono to evanga even as their stakeholders of education but what the responsibilities choko koraki choko ngoro mwana succeed once people gente go chamo bakole the right thing umwana uli amanye go succeed se oboguma bwaye in terms of the modern education as I've explained. Yes.
Asanade tuatigirete last time ekero twari gukwanira na mona samangana bwatikene na homework konye kwenyorete no tuatigirete ntucheti gukora ekero tukwanira mangana yugukina no kwendera ku mwana no nyana sense mwe yiga yetisemi engana nera se tuatigirete na bokonyora na umwibulira rogocha okonyo mwana gukora homework assignment of course nigaga niri kumworokereria naki aiga na bokolika aiga kora aiga lakini kwa manya konyorana asengi nchumu bura twati chinsa nigagocha gari wangu okora ero monyene wangu asengi njato wa chinsa chiri naki kanchengire nsengi makoeresera wangu mutena ki okora wangu mutena gaigalika gaigalika kao gaigalika engoko gaigalika kora gento keke gaigalika gocha engane na kigo che affect success yo mwana na na sensemo ye chisemi na monekera to kwanira senseme yo kworokereria omwana kerokeria airwe gasi achikokorera inka gosinkikana iri kokorekana irukene kino omwana oyo tali mwebuli okomokorera fully lakini na bo mwebuli akomorokereria so that ikasenga kiria matemu kenenke iyo konyaro omwana amanye
the current CBC ya beire bono buna ne competition ya baibuligete konyora state and bamenyete abana bakosoma the same school ora basa konyora ngana baibuli bago compete ekiagara baibuli mbara understand a concept ya CBC bia okworokereri omwana neto about no komokolere gas there should be a difference there babwente baikaranse babwente bamanyenga amangana yinale etovauti ngakiale etovauti ekere omwana letire assignment ka ayebuno moibori turi kuimukie karamu omotenkangi gitabu gerika ngayali bako bigosoma to oboeto mwana ngoche kwenda ale mambia atakoletia assignment so okorero mwana mabira nga mwana yorosire tiga koleki tiga arale lakini mambia go bukanyole gasi ekolire abantu bale bakoranga nga banjita abana babo mono to an extent bako bakolere batetiba akoranga okole gasi ndi no chandika
tateti
mwana strain bono ekintu mubuli arabasa gukora indete basa kubanga amokolera igabwente kurigia igitabu asome maito bono igente kana kirikubona gemetingana ki system ege go force omoibori kuba part of the journey of education yo mwana ulia tali rimuna lirikale njalenge boigo sai lazima you have to be involved asinali bakugo sign ingo mwana oyo nkwa mukonyete gukora 1 2 3 ngakio komoko turi kwimo kigetabu gyo ngeko mokolera what you do advise bible bali kabataramanya mono konyora mbale ndali bono konya emyaka yabo ya chire ale kidogo konya bagotire mba konyara okoraki mba konyara ko baorokia ono mwana buno yiro chinga kiago chiko ko benefit yero nyatari korokibwo so what happens abayibuli aba babugate okugani wo konya bana babe ngento ndaba tende mbaba se mislead go se misunderstand the concept ya CBC igo ndaba teba kolega umwana kaya dire gasika nyirigereri kolire rorang kiyo nkibabole maswali kiya babole tia take your time nebe ngana kinga no bugate gasi ya kwale okora kini to kongya ngana ki ole busy mono gwetani umwana ogo gwirete school
lakini nyere nando mwibuli oyo nere oberega kuumana kera rituko na komochia CBC yena kenenke iyo bamba baroche usikenenke bagandire to understand
bono nakitubugate program weye tubakonye program weye achitema ilinde to konya bagusi ko understand some of these things ligeri gasi lyo mwana ire kora egento asigete mwana motengana ki egente kibwika na acholire liswali na lieli egente ikerega tigo mwana akore bwika korire turi kuimu kitabu ngekumurikira egento okoro motengana ki egente kege gokoruga bono kora so that egente kege oko enough time I know mwana ogo number 1 as I told you earlier a parent is the first teacher bwatena okumanya ngo mwana one nare slow kororire okumanya mwana ona koroteki nabwate challenges cho ku understand chi concept gete nagani kege tambe amanye ku understand kororire so ekero ole nere nabeko baraisi ku mwana ekero ucha kurangaligwe school because a parent also no bwenete gwache school ko follow up on the academic into korunga academic clinics gwatende gwategera balimu kibagote kwa manyanga kumbe ekento kali manyete kana umwalimu amanyete maranga unya bayibuli bagoje school baba surprised umwalimu amaete mono igoro mwana oye kubuo moibuli because moibuli tali go take time kokoraki ko bano mwana oye amoigwe amotengana ki nimbwate challenges iga nini kwa nyoro moibuli mona ago blame a system na balimu but in the real sense there is somewhere he is supposed to play a role okonya mbali gukora igo yes
na ekera to kwanirigoro yengani yungima abwase ogokonya ingana nerega bwo gwa kwanirenga kiende nereria okonyorana as tubata of course a meeting alafu tubate communication elie kwegati yo moiboli na omwalimu ngakenero konyara abarimu aba ibuli mbale bamaite gukwanira abarimu biya nabane bare bagocha ne language gitere rudi sana na kwa makonyora na omwana oyo no arega because success yetu gukwanira useko gendera ku omwana wike kune abunu wono no imbwanero na ko ba shape dio manyete gabu umwibuli nare ugocho kwanira bakera bale no mwarimu umukwanira mono bayeresana nigerega magosa ni gastaka kole kanega gocha bateberani biya bakora biya onde nare nairo gocha eragocha ne kirundo gete ekenen sana ayega sometimes narongo chara kolekana ase chi meeting inchiri chiri okonyora umwibuli noari abaibuli bonse pino obali chiko kuna school meetings abaibuli bonse pino obali na abana no obali kwanyora abaibuli babekire gose abana babekire bosio abaibuli nigo bale magiga gose abana nabo babekire bosio abaibuli nigo bale magiga kwa makonyasi meeting yechekerekeria abaibuli bakore these issues undina ora tumeke language ngiya undina ora tumeke language irendito sana so ebintu ebirana kibigoche bi impact communication negati abaibuli na abana ngayo mwana agocha oswana ne rabono katia
egento ndate ya abaibuli baito nekemo ekere omuibuli achire school ekere omuibuli mukire koruka ochire school number 1 na bwende kumanyangana ki ekere alika igo o extend the responsibilities chia part of them ochia so mwalimu kwarorire. So there is a way omwalimu no muibuli babwente gutwara trust so that nekero muibuli mwalimu no mwana oge skuru no maitengo mwana oyigare very safe. So ekero kuimuka koruka no muibuli, you know that there is somebody in the school who takes care of your child. So to kuimuka kwanza na bwale wente ko etebi koruka ngati no onye na agechi tiringo chiko koraki ukwandro mwalimu bobe gositingo chiko tumeke lugembe ukwane gore bosiwa banafunzi. There's something we always tell parents: if you have a burning issue or if you have been affected in some ways na handi no takete go address these issues also your frustrations to the school, don't do it before your students or say your child, because ekarocha koendaka what happens, you are leaving your child with the teacher and the student or the child saw you disrespecting the teacher. And as I've told you, learning happens through social, how you people behave. So do you think the child will respect the teacher after you've gone home? It's not possible. Nakong. Fona bayi
actually bako murwani bono.
Wono umete wono kwa oro kiri mwalimu ta go nkonya. Wono kwa oro kiri mwibuli ngana ki umete bayi buli boji bebe kentekemo. Aho chote nga nche na rule school fees. Kwa ruli na akole shopping na akole na pocket money esukuru area. That is not the end of learning. That is not the guarantee nga wono mwana ngo chiko Somali. You need to follow up manyanga na ki usiano yo mwana no mwalimu ngakire onya kuanyesa liti because of your frustrations no bwende kuliye namna yo kwerne school okoleki onya rosi ekiagera you are going to do zero investment chibezo kubeka linko ichire at the end of the day mwana wacha kwirna acha ngo chandaka na ande ucha kunya ku blame school, yet you know you are the role you supposed to play. Ekeroro mwibuli okwa school ko imuka tika kugenda gukwanira abalimu bobe bose bwa banafunzi tebyo tegero mwalimu kyako tebi tegera ngora record alafu bono teyo mwana karagenda ngensema alitora kwana kolori so mukwanira neno mwalimu omotengana ki ekente kwa motebya kwale tokole style gete. You have to find a way gusoma tinga tingo kirimono na mangana lakini torigie nchera tora konyane ustokonyo mwana, because the only time a parent and a teacher bakumirana is when a student comes to school. There is no relationship between a parent and a teacher. They are united by that student or school. So the aim is to see the child transform. Umwana ngo chenji algo chilevo gete. So that is how you supposed to coordinate. To batangana ki umwalimu no mobe komoteno to mwana. Talk to each other as adults momanya kemokonyo mwana, because the ultimate goal no go konya was no go ensure the child succeed, acquires knowledge, attitudes, and the values and the competencies chiganeri in the current education system.
Asense moyende kwa enga kinero konyoro mwana.
Yes.
Omwana ni gari very active ekeralinka. Omwana okaweke school ni gari very dormant. Asenge nchi omwana yo konyora very active ekerokeria linka. ekero keri nyone na matoke agocha kurwa ase skuru abaibori abange bari gochi banchirana na matoke aria okoigwa muri agotebana no umwana ni gari no umwana ori very active no umwana ori very sharp nonye ninko kerari nkaga nkomotebi gintu gitu no umwana okwana nyone ne gesongo na kie konyarika no umwana oyo bono kiri kira sensemu ya masomo ase chisemi mwana otari kokoribia ekike goche kirira chiga kichinyinge umwana agotaribwa ase omwaka gusa ase miaka omwaka oyomo ase omwaka oyomo kwanyora umwana iruchi skuru nyona ni 3 ase ngencho mwiburi taranchirana na umwana na bago chenchi ekerari ngo umwana ni gari active wago chiesa ko kare kawe ke skuru umwana ni gari dormant umwiburi nago teno umwana wongo kwana ari nyone ne skuru nyone na matoke keragocha ekerote mako relate binte bibere biriko swanana nkie ko gere biga kwarekana na umwana ari active uga kago ika ase skuru ni gari dormant ekerari nkanu umwana oro mungaini ka ase skuru nyone performance yae tirigo chiana na kerikere inka
egente kine kia this one really gia sana kwa bole because also colleague the current students to bwate bono ga bakweruka jeni zibono bakale koro bale bono chi secondary school na maybe JSS
to bwate paka alpha
bono paka alpha ba so iri koro grade 1 mata ali gotira nebe swali ligia sana nilikongulire ko lichibu because nje I've interacted with such kind of students ntu wente twebolie tuenze pia stakeholders ngana ki nkiye kogera umwana ekere muri nereka ekere no muibolika umwana oyi is social. I have such kind of students umwana kerarika umwana ale social umwana kukwana buya umwana ko minyoka go left right lakini kero umwana ikire school umwana itakole tiki tabugati character yego disappear ekigero mate chisemi turabeka kando chisemi turarigiri kwanza style umwana yakora embwa
wana yoka
ninki geko gero umwana obaiko number 1 aibuno mwibuli kero umwana aleka you have given this it's not wrong ko umwana freedom abaibuli mbaba se ko misquote
bara no bose bole negenteke
but you have to limit the freedom number 1 to base ko tengo umwana one iga kogenda kirase iga gutarabuya iga gukora kiangu no mwana omungaini you just assume
no nyene computer na eruka rekongere nyomba ga ya gutumekwa
ebinte byonsi omuibuli nabwente ko tware limit to what extent omwana nabwate freedom to what extent omwana nagutumeke sim to what extent omwana nako ligelie TV because ntobwate even addiction ebinte byonsi ngoreta bira addiction ekero mwana achire skuru ebinte bimbiyo in Kenya ntoraike state level toko abana freedom yogo chande gisimi skuru yoko role TV yo kalioka korire ekiagere ebintu biri byonzi umwana mu Africa igo ako prefer mono ko entertained kubwa go chikokora ki go chikokora ebintu bire mono bire connected go bire related na masomo so umwana bakoberaka ubugete nga active. Well, he is active because of the freedom you have given him or her. But ikero mwana ikire skuru onya tomo be create foundation ningia koruka yambo matingana ki kwa chieso mupira sai kwa role TV sai kwa kora kwa ne basani sai lakini gewika chinsa gete kwa ira na nyumba kwa koraki kwa kora mangana ya masomo umwana na bora abwenga no mwana ole very active umwana go interact na abantu umwana okora kiango. It is very different from the school setting. Amasomo na hata getege kurunga commitment because I told you a learner is a stakeholder in the success in just the success of itself. Umwana na are part of the success turiko mo exclude because after abantu abo zipa akore the party yabo it takes the commitment of this student weta matem. So is this learner committed to education? Ekero kumurige lisem ebinte byo sipio komotogia nkomotogi wale sector education so that to baso chakuba frustrated at the last minute nga umwana onenko ranga na and you see it's not a miracle ogwete ko mwanafunzi tali miujiza telinga neme basoka ne okole kananga umwana ngwetali ekeroro muibuli ole very close in that process of learning na hukumanya umwana onengo chiwetaro
abakumanyana elevonero umwana one agwika asinara agwika asinara ataike abakonyare ke
kitakonyara to gocha gotware ngankwe gosole ngoso muibuli ali kaganyite A- mwibuli itanya gutaja school from form 1 gusekuru grade 10
ya baibo abanambare nyone tukara twara gukina no nyemba no kuigwa na inche rito korire tata ndete ta admission ureri mpaka rero nche nanya komora tata anya uja school.
I'm telling you
no nya visiting nche na besa gutuma
okora igo tali na haja kwarire maybe gare very busy abandi kunyoa barale ba lakini ekintu kia muhimu ekere kwarangaligwe school in fact toka niri kwarangaligwe school uchikorra umwana uko bukalimo no ene Jumatatu emo igenda bakie school ekera abana bakwigura school na rero bakoigura abaibuli ngai bagokoba abana babaikia karentu my father did his part. I remember ekera twa kwande school there is no day I went without my father.
Nero gukwira baka bwaka na baka ebesa keregenda
ekere shopping yo tokora rituko litoko kwande school ekiageregente amatuka yonsi pi korire ekinegento muibuli ya manyitenga mwana acha igole school abaibuli basa imba maitono lituge school ko igoro eba kuganyaririe wiki eri omweli abangere kora uniform bakesiminga umwalimu ndibono baba bako igora babese kole so omwana bako mutengana ki ntwanya kwento ko
no nyina wako abunko iyo mwana nigakwa wefea kurangere
go kipi na no matuna no Nairobi erembe sometimes na mwana ako ende anywhere mwana na bako ibu na bako ego drugs na bako ego so many illegal things kwarire
na lerega bono gende stage ya igoko nyona
abana baichire
bara ubaichire stage baibori mbayo no mwana ogwekoba guchia
abana bago so omwibuli akolisio mwana saa 12 chiamambia umwana uyocha wika saa 2 botuko saa 11
katia gatuma itinanga yetera usenga yaringi
tumanyitia hono mwibuli ukale biashara biso mwana natume school lakini as a parent you need to spare some time for your child's education even if it's a day itugoli yokugole school hakikisho mwana to basikucha konya go regret later hakikisho mwana osoire school obeire mali ogingerwa nyabagotegingerwa na habwate uniform umete discipline we defined discipline last time nkabatenga discipline is a way of life is a process is a process of teaching a child on how to do the right thing. So you cannot leave that mandate to the teachers alone. They can reinforce discipline because you have already installed it in your child. Koruka rimambi mwana koboka no my thank you komotei na aroje so he is observing and learning good things from you. Ekaroko moikie skuru ko follow instructions. Omwana olinki yakokora akumanyanga my parent is a strict parent, is an orderly parent, so I'm supposed to be the same. Lakini ekaroko motiga paragati yanko kubena abantu abanga bangi abaibuli bande batakali kokiana abana babo there is that interaction kwanyu mwana otengana ki oliere nkiago bera igonje moko nkolera iga so those kind of things echigo affect because of the environment I told you abana bakobera so nto base ko ba surprise tekero mwana akugwa tega baibuli tobe involved in the learning process yo mwana. That's why CBC HT so that credit kumara goba o sign na akora bona bokumanya to kolero mwana but you can guide you guide through ngora then at the end of the day na bokucha kolio tengana ki mwana we matemo amagisi acha nanya ganyete gakonyora below expectation no maitenga kira marobangu ligere likuwa lenge korire kwarango mwana oyo ibinte bya kwartari okora bya na ande byanya kubai go consistent by the way nango tegendekemo ekero mwibu yako ande school bikako tyo mwalimu ngana ki make sure kwairo mwana we gasi nyinge korire make sure mwana we ochire marogoba obo yiye gasi acha gukora kwamenya kwebanga omwana okerale rusa ayo omutige tagodenga omwana one freedom esimi TV abasani tomanyeti you cannot be able to track
na ndekera to kwane urechi chiga omwara kiwaga niri kwaegwa kerengo kieke
gaskech
aga niri kwaegwa especially kera bawo children okonyora omwalimu ni gakwe mukegero na inse omworokia usabarokiwa ni gobaire equation 50 ayunsiali hesabu equation nigo chikale 30 egesongo equation nigo chikale 40 bono aiga busubiri bo mwana lende okay na kikigane iriko
tianda gotebi in fact onya ndia baibuli bale gukora egasi yabo yo boibuli buya including monitoring the learning process yo mwana obo onanga ntundu ko bwagasi assignment abali bakoba is because they feel abana abago jikoendaka but they don't know bwoba bali mkonya babwata
lakini rende no nyeke kalena no bwoba situation ya 50.
Let me tell you something. Omuiboli is supposed to engage the child from the day basikire school mpaka tuko bawo cha kuigora. He is supposed to find a way na buko iro mwana go tuition na buko rangira umwalimu anya komosomi nyumba gorire lakini yatokanga umwana kera kugwa matemu abuli go bago che school bacha kuandamana nge school ya nembe gorire ono and statistics ko chikoro kero mwana achireka ekere bakore ne school mbali gukora matemu ya so it means chi concept chinyinge go chikwebwa ekera bana bachireka bona bali mbanyi bayikaranza bate bangana ki intu tigatwerusie ekebeke likiko chakora ki intu akorete party yaito umwana ndita abasocha kweba tose gutwale gasi enkongu yogo cha gosomi next time tigatomoe gasi ego cha kumwengeja holda bono konyakira umwalimu abu ate panic CRE tigamwa amaswali eholde yeko na chiwiki 3 umwana umete assignment teliko na mwalimu womo chionzi icho kero mwalimu akumwe assignment kulingana buno bwo bwa bwigete
lakini rero sharing ningane ko bana ki muigwana ali ase skuru na ki kere subject kero mwalimu tigarwa mabolyo usama swali ikomi go semeronge ekero ko nyoro yomo njeri nyorete na etwe akairwo ni chemistry okobara e pamphlet yengima
and you see
na ndo ko genda ri tukorithie skuru ekoigurwa to konyara go swa skuru
akina tenga
ngire ko chekerwo gari ge itoko kwa maswali limontu yetu maswali 70 asiali ege songo agacha around 35 hesabu around ndori kwana
numberless
biology ndori kwana
numberless
gochi moina bono niko yaringe case
bono ekere umwalimu wako assignment tali kolengelinga no ira assignment that's one you should know ekero mwalimu
wako kwabu no mwalimu no mwalimu
ono mwalimone ntagete na digire nalenga mwalimone lindo base kuweta ebina bibintu bwente gukora so inse kubwata anse kuligere libu na Kiswahili bako ete chi question ibere mwete sometimes languages na boko gwe passage osome ulika machifu esabu terigo ihango tiwe eche sabu esabu neta getekere tuko monta practice nse ko kwa chisabu ibere go somo alima ko chisabu ibere chioka ekero ko cha holiday umwana oyago cha kola isabu jiri tuko yitangani achikore wona matuka i40 go chimwino ngiago
mwana tebena ni gongo kwero botuko bobweka go chakira mambi nyoro
go mo bwadoro cha magoso umuibule na bwata magoso because no nekero umwana yako tiango te bana bale na bana bale very funny none kera bayirwa assignment in fact baka assignment ko bakoye guliri mambi kera bakogenda ose ko ba marogoba iko bako nyikolere school iko bako nyikolere school yonse bakora yonse pi
babwaterane kwa neki sabu
babwaterane ba kechi yonse pi
ba copy bonse yibi
bamaitenganka mwibule tali gochikobolia yes ago nje na ko assignment tu assignment igoro ngakora
evitabu ni school na
school na but you see omwibuli egasi ya ninki bono ogoisane ko tengo mwana ne gakorera assignment umwana oyibwe prepare gocha gukora ibintu bitali related in education ekero korora umwana agukorana na masomo ku school ora kera gocha kangi aho gukora you are supposed to follow up mudengana ki bono nya gwakorireria umwalimu nara alio osoma jirani ali nona banafunzi abale binyora ali bana bakora education rangiri umuntu yo mukuru ali mudengana ki umwana oyo takora murigerio nga yeikire motivate yo kamwalimu waku kathengana ki kiara mbono gagonya kungangana motivate mutengana ki tiangu gorere credit umuntu ole campus secondia na bwate kugana gogosomi mono mwae credit kia 200 moto ya gogocha muligeli gosena akora na maswali abere kwali rai school era around nya bwate ka nya kwenyara rai school era around moto morra sa mangana tuition nya balimba bwate program ya tuition sacrifice too much because osiko tuko mwana yatu wale freedom nyingi kera otayo naika mwana yonko mosiriole mwana you have to lose the child because the moment agutware disconnect from the education from all things that matter in school manyanga kwa kumuirani back is going to be very difficult yes
asense mo ya child success baro unganchira to so asense mo yenchira yekerero ntubate technology ya soirega neli na assignment AI acha lero artificial intelligence okuo mwana libolio ayokete na rwanda okora ando sabangine simi lero nyombe chiga bona tokameta konyorana paka abantu bachake kwa chi wifi eboka abanyene abande abana bama itukora data mwana tari kwira chinga kichiaye korengera ligosatu bole bitabu ama itena AI teyo Google teyo okenda gali boli lina kwa boli gali ando lirike exactly ama chibwacha gasia no copy na go paste uchia asense mu gitabu no na chiskuru ekaro kori lero iga no nyina balimu abanyene mbagendere tukonyora maigerio na kibaranyare gutumeka AI asogosetia matemu guchana mabolio no nyina okumakia matemu ayaga technology ya because asama tukamagega wika kware gutubore bitabu linde kware gutubore bitabu paka kwanyorana na nyori boli waitwe kwa chile bitabu John Speed paka chie encyclopedia diabolire machibu ayata iyo paka bono quality ga blank gochigabo umwalimu nyono mwalimu uri okata liboli omanyene no nyene tabu ati chibu actually ni gaba yatu muchi okora research lakini lero iga AI nero technology nero naki ego impact ugokira kumana no bega success yo
you see technology I'll classify it under the community whereby the students are learning by observing what is happening in the social media. You also can classify social media. But as a parent, it's good. Even don't be totally deny at the moment. We cannot deny that. Bitango as a technology because it's growing. But as a parent, you need to limit the extent to which a student or your child is using technology. There's something I did recently called OXEA, online child sexual exploitation and abuse. There is a stage. Exposure to all these gadgets, but this child is accessing all the sites illegal at the level of mwana na legal chirio konyora bono WhatsApp ni nini. But the child of the day, they go to online gaming, they go to online dating and all that kind of business. Ebintu nebinge biragero o sirio mwana through online.
Omwana wo musani onera na imokagero na inse akagolega ali mpaka akabeke order. Akabeka online akagolega akagolega aliga online akabeke order kere genta gasoa se website agachona make kara kere gento paka akabeke order isega kirete gane simya gwake na
igaliria ikira
na kindi to komerana ndio okara payment barumere ki payment yake kumbe mwana agorete gali kare agaichori kere gento.
You see those are the kind of challenges tubugate eskuru abalimu ngosome gwalengana ki ngakiba gutumeka AI unagwate. AI is coming to help the current technology. Ngaki even drawings, 3D, so many things which are helpful to a child. But omoibori, you are supposed to again in the buck stops with the parent. Ekaro mwana ale skuru intuntu bwate those gadgets. But we are using them responsibly because we are only exposing them to the information that is made for them. Class, you are supposed to expose some information that a child is going to use and benefit. Correct? You are not misleading the child. You are not affecting his mental status. Lakini kirotikito mwanaka, he will find a way of trying to do such kind of things. They even go to an extreme. Na bako onyora strangers online banya kungainana. Okonyoro mwana mosinini o serious. Sometimes they date very old men, sometimes they date very young people. Okonyo mwana ole mumuro ole secondary is dating a very old woman. Mwana monyaroko mosinini. How do they meet? It's because of the phone. It's because of the technology. Because you love your child too much. Okote mwana onetiga mwesimi.
Facebook, TikTok.
Even the way the students, the young children are dancing on the streets is not something that we should appreciate. Nande abuno toche as a society because we are fighting ourselves. The stakeholders are not agreeing. The child in the society is very young, but the parents and the people around them have exposed them to TikTok. Abana bago tenga, bago expose their body in a way of a mature person. And the society is clapping at them. We have. The society is clapping, but the school is saying no. So there is that disagreement between the society and the school. So if the society is always supporting something that is wrong, even if the school tries to change it, it cannot be possible. Because the society is where the students are learning through observation, as I told you earlier. So omwana ekerale estate, omwana kaligalengo omwana we community. Remember that? There's somebody who said that it takes a village to raise a child. Omwana kaligalengo omwana we community. Omwana kerale kogosa kale omuyibuli nonye ti. So reason ti umuntu kago comment. Omwana kera gosire nonye ti ndi muyibuli. I remember when I was growing. Ekere na gosire.
Ne yanko yaona beko discipline.
No muntu nabako jatenga omwana wa tabia bwate nembe.
Na munyora sike to karente kete naramo chaba.
But do you think sai so many the plot ende kingekolekane? Egokulirana abantu bakurwana ntyo gwagera omwana one nini.
Lero na David Gambirombiro abanyanyimbo mbare sini yake rulimo lyoka kwabekirumbe. But you see a comment yago kwaro tiyarengembe. Igo yarengingana ki ngakitora akora to change omwana oyo style yako genda nembe. Lakini kwa nyoro muiboli is supporting it without investigation. You're supposed to be an investigator as a parent. To go jump to ego. Kwa tengo mwana oyo nomuya. No. Investigate also. Take your time. Manyango bwata magoso. Be your own investigator. Kaba nyombali, kaba no eno mo DCI for some time. Kere kwa nyere bana baruanire, goso mwana ogo oakiro mwana onde. Instead of parents fighting, okay? Come together and discuss this. What happened? They are fighting for something. How can you prevent them from fighting for this thing? That's my own muiboli. No you on the karansi muiguane. So that you mukonya mogochikuruana buna baiboli. Again, you are teaching these students that you see in a disagreement, you don't have to sort things in an amicable way or in a peaceful way. You can fight. So the students, when they come to school, they will fight themselves. Ekareba go sort ebintu. Estyle nona umwalimu ago treat umwane in the school setting. The students are learning. Ekarora unfair. Okay? Don't forget that this student will become a member of parliament in future. It will be unfair to the parents, to the people in his community. It is going to happen. Powers you can favor. But if you are fair as a teacher, that's why teachers sometimes they handle things fairly. If you are fair, you punish you equally, not equally. Because you know punishment also, no matter we talked about it last time. It's supposed to be instantaneous. You can punish instantly, trying to rekebisha, to rectify a certain problem. You can punish, you can appreciate. Because remember, punishment and appreciation, they happen the same, they are one and the same thing. Because think umwana wote yango tere by the way. When you umwana wo okoli de bujabono maambi. Kwa hande kwaru wota mote congratulations. No mote mara go bade ta ko nyara de ndenge komo konya. Ata ke teli rimna gya kole kana ali.
And reinforcements are instant things. O mwana abwente ko tebe immediately. No muiboli kalia. Identify those good things. Tell you mwana you have done well. Sometimes ignore the bad things and focus on the strength. So that umwana talikera litu wonya kumwaka iboko. Because sometimes you are raising a child who is scared. Umwana muoba talinga ochenjiri. Ikaoboete punishment. But when you keep on rectifying, they will know that this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing to do. Yes.
Asoko kolera mambia ya bono asense mo yo mwario. Ngana nere kwigwa bibere bangwa gotena umwana uyo sinyire abuna ekero kiri yake tote wa child success igotari kisemi choka talimbwa yoka nonye nase umwana naganire manyena nonye nase nsemo yubwanchani achinywa muguchi mutuga igana kiyumontaga neriko komenya paka ucha usonywa na gucha senywa mo so that umwana taikakera aikire goro bandi bakora ateba no umwana libengereri igone ebintu aganire guchaka kumanya kurbono na ekeni okikanire gokoruga na igana ekero tukwanere ngane iga yubwanchi nasa matukamagega kware konyora na anko yago Santiago gusinayo gatenini no munyaruka gite iganyone bakora atena no gotore ebinagu oigwa no muntu naro gosegesi kurumoino nigo kware gotama omunyero kwagenda gochimate ai kwagenda gochirogoro lakini asama tukaye rero iga anko yagora bagweta sukura na bagweta no mote ne nari yani bana baikire mbali kwegosa alafu yaikire na omwana na abana nigo abwate miaka nyone 12 agocha gotebia ibuna mamume no agocha tebi nyina gose isena ki omanyete muntu gete na gete gose ne boyfriend yani mbali gosoka agocha gotebirioka kwa makonyorana bitambo kirubiria abaiburi bakairira senga kiyo rero iga na berabe akomusana getambo kirekyo nkirigocha kyaimukirwa wono kwa makonyora umwana ubwate miaka 12 miaka 14 na twateba nera nigabwate umwanchani ase chiraikanga ibere choka igasogokorera
tiango tebi igente kimina gekwenda times have changed as technology is growing even you see the way of life also changes sometimes things are very dynamic konyora style tu alinge kale taliero tole bono iga style abibuli bago bali gokina your parents when they were growing how they managed to get each other is not how the recent ones are happening. Very different. So we cannot deny the fact that there are changes. And you know, sometimes we focus on attacking, but we don't tell people the truth. Things have changed. Okay? The way of life is changing also. Omuiboli, now when they appreciate, at the moment I'll tell them, when your child comes to you and tells you that, you know, maybe the child is a girl, and tells you that, you see, I have a boyfriend. As a child, as a parent, you kneel down and pray and say these words, okay? At least my child is not confused. And another thing, the child is free with me. The reasons why you never did these kind of things, you are not free with your parents. When you are very, very close to your son or daughter, you will be able to see these things. They will open up. He's opening up whatever that I want to know. So tell me more about that. I want to be psychologist. What do you discuss when you are together? What do you do when you are together? So if you have a girlfriend or you have a boyfriend, this is the extent to which I want you to go. If they ask you to do this and that, please come and ask me first. So you guide. But imagine a situation whereby your daughter is telling your son, and you see, I like that boy. As a parent, you feel. So it's sometimes it's good. The problem, let us not leave these students bind to an extent because if you leave them, they'll get you into trouble. Early pregnancy, diseases, STIs, STDs, so many forms of diseases. So you as a parent, you're supposed to guide. If they are opening up, we as teachers, we are very happy. Because when a child opens up, we are able to understand and guide. Then you become very mad at this child. Next time, do you think na go take it? Na nyoro monto go chako koregen to kerekebe kubisa. Because I'm at the moment I go tebia ngomoito. But you see, ekero mwana ucho go think I am doing this, and then you guide them through. Umwana na bako mayana ki. Sometimes they even these are my private parts, these are something they're supposed to be private to me. And in the school setting, the teachers are doing the right thing. They're teaching the children that even if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, there is an extent that you're supposed to go with these things. Because what if it's a old man coming? See, you come in and tell them that, you see, this age is not, you guide as a parent. You can even research and guide them accordingly. This is how I'm supposed to live. Because you cannot argue or maybe be in compromise with the reality of the situation.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yamaro mwanchu mulira sogosanga twasangire mambia ya rero iga enga kirindo chena twaikire omwerio ase engani getwaru kwanira iguru yugo kina no kwendera ku mwana kamera yago neye ya kabere ngana yago yo mwerio yo gukorera sekunde ikomiga
abayiboli asemo abetali gusi kera bagusi na uto kwanza mono station yetu ni ekigusi tete mbate binga mukwo moyo togendere go konya
korata yabana to kwa
moyo kisongo to aro moyo ne bibilia nero ne kanisa nero titobase gukwa moyo titobase korosa titobase ko lose hope togendere go sukuma abana togendere kuba push togendere ko ende skuru togendere kubulia balimu abana kera bachike togendere ko babwatesia elinde tokinia abana babwate chimbu chingia ikegara abana balero babera abana batari gotegerera abana babera abana banjite chisegi abana banjite chimbu chimbe they choose the wrong side all the time toteme toeboli ntuna abayiboli ngai number 1 ngai tu asirerete
ngai mbre yacha
tuwakera ya magina ngakito gukora tonyole chinjera chingia choko kini abana aba tuligelie environment abana baito bale tuligelie kanisa likere baguchia all over tumanyangana ki at the end of the day these are our children these are our people and they are the future generation and the future leaders of the country nto tiga abana baito basire ekere barabake nandi nto basukunya go blame abantu ekere barabana baito let us do our part as parents, let us do our part as teachers, and the government we urge it to do what? To provide the enough resources that are required for learning to take place. Thank you very much.
Mwanchumo ligalie mbiyamano brand machakaso gusanga twasangire mambia bona rero nesemo twaso usene ya kabere.
Yes.
Iki kikarego chimo twabona kitigarete bado
no
mbona twachakire kole
ntugitoboli ngamuriro oli no erete
yebona
medemerero nenjaba
na wikiraga gwo no tugwikira umweri ase area rero wika area nkyo kurinde chinsa turachikobera na chia gutko area na Ishmael Mogere twakuganira mu baso